ภาวิชาชีพบัญชีในพระบรมราชูปถัมภ์เป็นองค์กรตามพระราชบัญญัติวิชาชีพบัญชีพุทธศักราช 2547 มีบทบาทสำคัญในฐานะองค์กรวิชาชีพบัญชีของไทยที่ได้รับการยอมรับจากองค์กรที่เกี่ยวข้องทั้งในและต่างประเทศวิสัยทัศน์สภาวิชาชีพบัญชีเป็นองค์กรที่เสริมสร้างและพัฒนาผู้ประกอบวิชาชีพบัญชีให้เป็นมืออาชีพร่วมสมัยเป็นสากลและมีจรรยาบรรณปัจจุบันสภาวิชาชีพบัญชีมีนายกสภาวิชาชีพบัญชีร่วมด้วยคณะกรรมการสภาวิชาชีพบัญชีและกรรมการผู้ทรงคุณวุฒิด้านบัญชีอีก 16 ท่านเพื่อร่วมขับเคลื่อนวิชาชีพบัญชีไทยพันธกิจสภาวิชาชีพบัญชี 1. สร้างและพัฒนามาตรฐานทางวิชาชีพบัญชีเพื่อให้เป็นที่ยอมรับทั้งภายในประเทศและระดับสากล 2. พัฒนาและส่งเสริมความรู้ทางการบัญชีและศาสตร์ที่เกี่ยวข้องให้แก่ผู้ประกอบวิชาชีพบัญชีให้มีความก้าวหน้าในวิชาชีพเพื่อเป็นกลไกสำคัญในการสนับสนุนเศรษฐกิจของประเทศ 3. เป็นศูนย์รวมองค์ความรู้ด้านวิชาชีพบัญชีเพื่อให้คำปรึกษาแก่ผู้ประกอบวิชาชีพบัญชีและผู้ใช้งบการเงิน 4. เป็นตัวแทนของผู้ประกอบวิชาชีพบัญชีในการร่วมมือกับหน่วยงานต่างๆทั้งภายในประเทศและระดับสากล 5. ส่งเสริมและกำกับผู้ประกอบวิชาชีพบัญชีให้มีจรรยาบรรณวิชาชีพเป็นองค์กรวิชาชีพบัญชีที่มีระบบการจัดการที่ทันสมัยและให้บริการอย่างมืออาชีพการดำเนินงานของสภาวิชาชีพบัญชีมุ่งเน้นการให้บริการสมาชิกอย่างทั่วถึงและครอบคลุมพร้อมด้วยการรองรับการให้บริการสมาชิกในระดับภูมิภาคทั่วประเทศและมุ่งเน้นพัฒนาองค์ความรู้ในวิชาชีพบัญชีด้านใหม่ๆเพื่อเพิ่มศักยภาพให้ผู้ประกอบวิชาชีพบัญชีมีความรู้ความสามารถที่หลากหลายและตอบสนองต่อการเปลี่ยนแปลงในปัจจุบันและอนาคตควบคู่ไปกับการเป็นองค์กรวิชาชีพบัญชีที่มีการบริหารจัดการที่ดีภายใต้หลักธรรมาภิบาล
จะหาหลักสูตรอบรมได้จากที่ไหนนะนี่ก็ใกล้จะสิ้นปีละเก็บ CPD ไม่ทันแน่ๆเลย
สวัสดีครับพี่ๆสมาชิกวันนี้พี่ๆไม่ต้องเครียดกันแล้วเพราะสภาวิชาชีพบัญชีมีหลักสูตร TFAC e-learning เพื่ออำนวยความสะดวกให้พี่ๆสมาชิกและผู้ที่สนใจสามารถอบรมผ่านระบบออนไลน์ได้ง่ายและรวดเร็วสามารถเรียนได้ทุกที่ทุกเวลาคุ้มค่าราคาประหยัดและสามารถนับชั่วโมง CPD ได้อีกด้วยนอกจากนั้นทุกหลักสูตรอันแน่นด้วยเนื้อหาความรู้ครอบคลุมทุกความต้องการของผู้ประกอบวิชาชีพบัญชีบรรยายโดยวิทยากรผู้ทรงคุณวุฒิและผู้เชี่ยวชาญเฉพาะด้านที่สภาวิชาชีพบัญชีคัดสรรมาเพื่อผู้ประกอบวิชาชีพบัญชีโดยเฉพาะพร้อมส่งตรงถึงบ้านพี่ๆทุกท่านสำหรับพี่ๆที่สนใจเข้าเรียนสามารถเข้าสู่เว็บไซต์ www.elearning.tfac.or.th โดยตรงหรือเข้าผ่านเว็บไซต์สภาวิชาชีพบัญชี www.tfac.or.th ก็ได้หรือสแกน QR Code ที่ปรากฏบนหน้าจอนี้ก็ได้เช่นเดียวกันครับเมื่อเข้าสู่หน้าเว็บไซต์ TFAC e-learning แล้วก่อนการสมัครเข้าอบรมพี่ๆต้องลงทะเบียนก่อนนะครับโดยกดสมัครสมาชิกและกรอกข้อมูลจากนั้นยืนยันตัวตนให้เรียบร้อยก็เสร็จสิ้นขั้นตอนการลงทะเบียนและเมื่อพี่ๆเจอหลักสูตรที่ตนเองสนใจสามารถกดเข้าไปหน้าหลักสูตรซึ่งจะพบรายละเอียดหลักสูตรคลิปอธิบายตัวอย่างในหลักสูตรวิทยากรจำนวนชั่วโมงที่ต้องเรียนอัตราค่าสมัครและจำนวนชั่วโมง CPD ที่ได้รับจากนั้นให้กด Add to Cart หรือเพิ่มลงในตะกร้าและทำตามขั้นตอนการสมัครก็เป็นอันเสร็จเรียบร้อยครับเพียงเท่านี้พี่ๆก็สามารถเข้าอบรมผ่านระบบออนไลน์ได้อย่างสะดวกและรวดเร็วเก็บชั่วโมง CPD ได้ทันเวลาอยู่ที่ไหนเมื่อไหร่ก็สามารถเรียนได้ทุกที่ทุกเวลาและมาสมัครเรียนหลักสูตร TFAC e-learning กันได้เยอะนะครับ
ทุกท่านสวัสดีครับทุกท่านวันนี้ทาง TFAC ก็ขอนำเข้าสู่เราเรียกว่าเป็นเวอร์ชันพิเศษคือ CMA Talk ที่จะเป็นการพูดคุยเรื่องของ Green Swan The Existential Cost of Plastic Pandemic นะครับซึ่ง today we have the distinguished guest to be our guest speaker two person in the Zoom we have the Professor Janek Ratnatunga and Professor Case Sonia. Professor Janek is now the CEO of Institute of Certified Management Accountant, and Professor Case is the Deputy CEO of CMA Australia and New Zealand. Okay, both of you can introduce yourself and we can start right now.
Thank you very much. Sawadee Krap to all of you. And it is a great pleasure for me to be here in Bangkok. It is the favorite city in the world for me. I love coming to Bangkok and come to Thailand. And it is also my pleasure today to introduce the CEO of the Institute of Certified Management Accountants, Australia and New Zealand, CMA-NZ, Professor Janek Ratnatunga. Now, Professor Janek is arguably the best known educator of management accounting in the world. He has, in fact, I'm not just saying this, he has received a Joint American Accounting Association Award for his impact on management accounting practice around the world. This has been given to him jointly by CMA, CMA, and AICPA USA. So he's a world-known figure, well-regarded. He's a very senior academic from Australia and has held senior academic positions in the top universities in Australia, University of South Australia, where he was dean, University of Monash University, where he was head of the Department of Accounting and Finance and chair in business accounting. He was also held senior positions in the University of Melbourne and many other Australian universities, as well as many other American universities. Among the American universities, he has held positions at the University of Washington, University of Richmond, and University of Rhode Island in the USA. So he has held very, very senior positions. He has over 50 years of experience in very senior capacities. He has been a consultant to the World Bank and many other organizations, very, very senior, the Boeing company and many other, Coca-Cola, all of the largest corporations in the world, he has been a consultant to. But he is known across the world for his independent thinking and for his views on management accounting. So it's my pleasure to present to you today, Professor Janek Ratnatunga.
Okay.
Thank you.
Professor Janek, your turn.
Thank you very much, Chris, for that introduction. I hope I'll be able to fulfill that with this talk. It's very, very, very great pleasure for me to address very senior people, I'm told, of TFAC. And we hope that one day many of you will also be members of CMA Australia. Excuse me. So just to very quickly introduce CMA, I'll talk about CMA Australia later on after my talk, but it actually has about 10,000 members. It's actually about 20,000, but 10,000 CMAs. It's relatively new. It's about over 25 years old compared to some of the other management accounting organizations in the world. But it's very, very senior people because we only take people with a very high level of qualification, and we then put them through, again, a very senior program. So that is the CMA. We are very much focused on being the sustainable value creators. Okay, and this is the way the world is going. And you can see that some of the areas that we are going to talk about in our CMA program is that we are looking at value creation, enterprise governance, business analysis, performance management, risk and cost management, environmental and social reporting, and also a strategic audit, which is the audit of the future of the company rather than a financial audit of the past. So you can see that we are very much into focus on the future direction of the company, on strategy, and so on. So this organization is credited by the Commonwealth of Nations. This Commonwealth of Nations is where there are 52 sovereign nations members, including Australia and New Zealand. Okay, so we are credited by the Commonwealth of Nations, and also our program has got the New Zealand Qualifications Authority has given it the equivalent of a master's degree. That means not that is the whole master's degree, but the two subjects that we concentrate at the senior level is at the master's degree equivalent. So these are the two subjects, strategic business analysis and strategic cost management, and we talk about that later on. But TFAC members can actually come directly into this program. Okay, if you're a TFAC member, you would normally it's a people with accounting degrees or finance degrees or MBAs, but if you're a TFAC member, you get entry into the program, and after you complete it, you will be able to do some assessments. Assessments are variable, depends on your experience. Those with 20 years of experience have no assessment at all, and you do the program. So that the program, the 7-day intensive program, is October 6 to 8, and then again 27 to 30, where Dr. Chris and I and we will be actually coming to Thailand, and our president as well, Professor Brendan, we'll be coming to Thailand and we'll be teaching the program face to face. Okay, so I hope some of you all will be able to join us in that program, and later on I'll tell you the contact details of who you could speak to. Okay, so that's a little bit about the organization. Today my talk is on a very concerning area.
But I think Dr. Suwatchai, you want to say something?
Yes.
สวัสดีครับทุกท่านครับสุวชัยมีคำนึงชัยนะครับในฐานะกรรมการในคณะกรรมการบัญชีบริหารสภาวิชาชีพบัญชีวันนี้ก็รู้สึกเป็นเกียรติครับที่สมาชิกและก็ผู้เข้าชมมาชมและฟังเรื่องที่ค่อนข้างเป็นเรื่องที่สำคัญสำหรับเมืองไทยแล้วก็ในกระแสโลกเรื่องของพลาสติกแพนดมิกหรือต้นทุนในการเกิดพลาสติกแพนดมิกซึ่งวันนี้ทาง Professor Janek จะมา summary แล้วก็มาบอก direction แล้วก็สิ่งที่เราควรเรียนรู้ในฐานะนักบัญชีบริหารหรือผู้บริหารทางด้านบัญชีหรือการเงินเราควรจะ aware เรื่องนี้แล้วก็ตระหนักถึงเรื่องนี้มากแล้วก็สิ่งสำคัญคือทางสภาวิชาชีพบัญชีโคกับ CMA ก็มีการจัดหลักสูตร CMA หลักสูตร intensive นะครับที่เมื่อกี้เขาบอกแล้วก็คือ7 วันนะครับซึ่งสำคัญนะครับก็ถ้าเกิดว่าสมาชิกสภาวิชาชีพบัญชีจะ early bird ช่วงนี้ก็สามารถ early bird ได้ถึงปลายเดือนสิ้นเดือนสิงหาคมนี้นะครับติดต่อที่สภาวิชาชีพบัญชีนะครับซึ่งเดี๋ยวตอนท้ายก็คงจะมีรายละเอียดอีกทีนึงก็จะมีอีเมลกับโทรศัพท์ของสภาวิชาชีพบัญชีซึ่งเป็นผู้สั่งงานหลักสูตรนี้นะครับนะครับ Okay, go back to your slide. Professor Janek, can you explain more on the Green Swan?
Shall I continue now?
Yeah, continue.
Okay. So let me start by talking about what is called a black swan event. Now, early Europeans believed that only white swans existed. They didn't think that there were any black swans until they came to Australia and they found the black swans there. In fact, black swans are endemic only in Australia. Okay, so a black swan event is essentially what is described as an extremely rare but predictable event. It's not that it's impossible to happen, but it's a very rare event, but predictable. Okay, so black swan events is that while they are extremely rare and of severe impact, it is nevertheless characterized by the widespread insistence that they were obvious in hindsight. So we have had, for example, COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, it was a black swan event, but now people are saying, oh, we all could have predicted it. In fact, that Bill Gates said that there will be a pandemic because of a virus and so on. So that is essentially the significance of a black swan event. It is severe in impact, but people say, we could have predicted it. Okay. So what is a green swan event? Now, COVID-19, as I said, was a black swan event. So what is a green swan event? Essentially, the green means we are talking about the environment and what is happening in the environment. So environmental damage is a swan of a different color, a green one. So green swan are the consequence of risks that humans create. We are creating this risk by pumping contaminants into the air and water, all the pollutants and so on, destroying our ecosystems and destabilizing our climate. So this is a green swan event. Okay. Some causes of an impending green swan event, like global warming, are being well studied. In fact, I wrote my first paper on climate change in 2007. And at that time, the science, in my paper, it is said that the science said that 2023, if we don't do anything, game over. Now, of course, you've seen what happened in Europe, okay, all the tremendous heat wave that is happening there. And now they're expecting the same thing to happen in our part of the world. Okay, so these are events that are well studied, climate change. However, some causes remain hidden. People are not studying that much. Some people are studying it, but not enough, such as the looming plastic pollution pandemic. So that's what I'm going to talk about. Another type of swan. This can have an equally devastating consequence of triggering a green swan event of ecological disaster, which in hindsight, we will say, we sort of knew about it. Okay? Ecological disaster. In fact, the plastic pollution and the climate change actually intertwine together. Okay, so this is, unfortunately, a green swan is a dead swan. Okay. Now, in 1955, the American Life magazine, that magazine is no more, but Life magazine actually showed this picture of the greatness of what they call throwaway living, that you can use plastic and then not have to wash your plates, not have to clean your things, you can just throw away, okay? Disposable plastic was seen as a fantastic thing, okay? Little did they anticipate what impact this lifestyle would have in just one generation. One generation. Okay. So initially, plastic was the hero. Okay. Plastic, especially, there are many types of plastic, but the one that became the real problem, I can't even pronounce it, is polyethylene terephthalate or something. But we call it PET bottles, patented in 1973. Okay. So what happened was that what is good about this is, first of all, it is cheap to make, but it can withstand high amount of pressure, carbonated water. Okay. There were also much cheap alternatives to glass bottles. I mean, when I was growing up as a teenager, okay, we had glass bottles. Okay. Our Coca-Cola, we got in glass bottles and we opened the thing and drank it in glass bottles. And then the bottle was collected and cleaned and recycled. But then we had this plastic bottle. Now, these bottles have tremendous benefits. It's undisputed. Okay. Sorry. Higher strength to weight ratio, stiffness, toughness, ductility, the way you can bend it, so on, corrosion resistance, bio-inertness, it doesn't get affected by various biological means. Okay, all sorts of things, non-toxic, that's why it's very good in hospitals and so on. Excellent benefits. Okay. Now, the moment in history that plastic became something that we all wanted was when Evian, the bottle company, started selling bottled water in PET bottles. perhaps the actual occasion that plastic was given cult status was probably the day that New York supermodels began using Evian water on the catwalks. So they were doing fashion and drinking Evian water. Okay, that is perhaps the big bang of when plastic came into our life. It was an accessory in the fashion show catwalks. This was a signal that if it was acceptable by high society, it was acceptable by all. So we had people like Maria Shapanova, okay, modeling, the famous tennis player, modeling Evian bottles. Everyone wanted plastic bottles. And in fact, they wanted plastic within reach, water within reach. Since then, billions of bottles have been sold on the promise that bottled water is good for hair and skin, good for your health, healthier than soft drinks, and safer than tap water. So that was the advertising. And many of that is true. But they didn't take consumers long to buy into the notion that they needed water everywhere they went. Okay? Everywhere they went. Okay, so wherever you're going, you needed tap water. Now, in some countries like Sri Lanka and India and so on, and perhaps Thailand, of course, there is a health reason that you want this water. But in countries like Australia, where the tap water is perfectly safe, still people wanted bottled water by their side. That was a fashion symbol, not so much a use symbol. Okay, so what happened? Plastic took over. Everything was plastic. Here are some shops in China that you've seen, I'm sure, where the entire shop is plastic. Okay, plastic furniture, plastic, plants, everything is plastic. Okay, so you can see all of this is plastic. Okay, plastic, the world. Okay, so it was a hero. But then when did it become a villain? When did it become a villain? By the first decade and a half of the 21st century, this once celebrated invention has become almost like a disease. It has spread to a significant number of commodities sold today. So here are the things that we have in plastic: forks and spoons, toothbrushes, earlier made out of wood, now out of plastic, plastic wraps, plastic clamshell containers, which are the ones that you open, okay, and to put food in. Cigarette butts are made out of plastic as well. Tampons and pads, shoes, tires. Can you imagine that? Tires, they are made out of plastic, okay, not rubber, not only rubber, tires. And you can see where all of them end up, okay, in dumps, okay, landfills and dumps. In fact, hospitals are filled with sterile, single-use plastic to keep healthcare hygienic. And of course, after COVID-19, this has been a huge boom in this industry. So plastic, plastic, plastic everywhere, and no consequence to what happens after you finish using it. Single-use plastic. So here's a picture of a tire. Can you see that a tire has a lot of plastic in it, so it's very difficult to recycle. Okay, so this is what happened. Okay, all of those single use ended up in landfills, rivers, the ocean, and so on. So the world has awoken to this problem. Okay, it has gone from convenience to curse. The world has now awakened to the burgeoning crisis of plastic waste. Homeowners are now struggling to rid their lives of this material in an effort to go green. Now, that is not easy. I mean, even in my own house, I want to get rid of as much as plastic as possible, but my wife keeps on using the plastic wraps and so on, which have to then go thrown away. Okay, we can't recycle it. Okay, so it's not easy. Even in design, people are designing things with some of the plastic that can be actually recycled and some of it that can't. So this whole thing has to be then put into the card recycle bin. They're not looking correctly at the design. The backlash against the glut of discarded plastic commodities has been swift. They are clogging waterways, polluting oceans, and littering the interior. Suddenly, carrying a plastic bottle of water is no longer cool. It is uncool, not cool at all. Okay. Of course, in countries like Thailand, this has a big impact, okay, especially tourism, mainly because of two things. First of all, people are scared of the water. Another thing is that there's not proper system to collect the waste. Due to the lack of organized trash collection systems, pristine tourism sites in developing countries are now littered with plastic bottles and containers. Okay, I have gone to Nepal at the foot of the Himalayas. I look up here, beautiful Himalayas. I look behind me in the car park, the trash has not been collected, full of dirty plastic bottles because they don't have a good system to collect the trash. So Sri Lankan heritage sites, Myanmar temples, and Phuket and Koh Samui beaches littered with plastic, okay? It's terrible, okay? This uncontrolled litter leads to a pollution pandemic that ultimately severely damages our environment. So the basic message that I'm trying to give is control the litter or else the hidden green swan will emerge. And remember, a green swan is a dead swan. Okay, here's what you see in Mount Everest. Can you imagine this? Mount Everest littered with trash. That's the highest point on the earth. And Mariana Trench, the lowest point on the earth, littered with plastic bottles. Okay, so this is the real problem we are having. Okay, so let's see the plastic versus glass. Okay, now cigarette butts take about 5 years to decompose. Plastic bags, 20 years. Plastic lined coffee cups, 30 years after we drink it and throw it. Okay, plastic straw, that's a terrible thing. Plastic straws, not only does it take 200 years, but it goes to fish their eyes and so on and damages ecosystems. Okay, so go on over here and you will see, in fact, that glass is 1 million years. So you might think, hey, you know, plastic is less than glass. But the difference is glass does not contaminate. It can be washed, recycled, and so on. While all of these other things are the ones that are clogging up the systems. Okay. So let's look further into the impact of plastics on the environment. Now, there are very important two interrelated issues, and those of us who know research can look at the research in two different camps. One camp talks about plastic production, and they're saying, hey, plastic production is so cheap to make. It's great, very, very cheap. And as management accountants, we know, yes, the amount of materials, the processing cost, very, very cheap to make plastic things, as against paper, for example. Paper is more costly, bottles are more costly than plastic. So there's no question, plastic production is cheap. Plastic consumption, that is where the problem comes. The deadly impact of littering. After we consume, we throw it away. That is where the problem is. So the camp that says, hey, plastic is cheap to make, they're right. But that's not the problem. The problem is the litter after you have the consumption. Okay, look at what's happened in our oceans. It is the excessive litter that is the problem. Excessive litter. Okay, so let's look at some of these things that you, I'm sure, seen some of these pictures. Okay, plastic over what it is, crabs. Okay, plastic in the oceans. Okay, now the worst one I found is this one here. Because turtles actually eat jellyfish and the jellyfish actually look like a plastic bag. So they think it's a jellyfish and they eat the plastic bag. Then the plastic gets in between their shell and they can't sink anymore. They float up. And it's very difficult to get this plastic out of the fellow. Okay, so thousands, hundreds of thousands of turtles are dying because of eating the plastic. And look at some of the plastic inside animals. Okay. Now, one of the big problems of plastic is the microplastic. I mean, plastic, we say, okay, we are not going to eat plastic. Who's going to eat plastic? But no, but once they get into a waterway, they become smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and they become microplastics. Okay, they get into our waterways, broken bits of takeaway containers and straws, tiny fibers from activewear, your jogging sneakers, plastic shed by synthetic products. Okay, they're extremely small. Okay, look at that in a little fingertip. Okay, rather than break down, they just get smaller and smaller until they're invisible to the naked eye. Okay. These are blown as wisps in the wind. They go in the wind. We don't even see it, end up in our waterways. Okay. Once in the ocean, it is difficult, if not impossible, to retrieve plastic waste. Okay. So, of course, what happens? The fish eat it, and we eat the fish, and we get it inside us. Okay. You can see consumption of microplastics is an immense problem. Researchers estimate that over 1 million animals die each year after ingesting or becoming entrapped in improperly discarded trash. Clearly, it is excessive litter, not greenhouse gas emissions, that is the real issue, and if not tackled, can lead to a green swarm catastrophe. Okay, so going back to the two arguments, yes, to make plastic bottles doesn't use so much of greenhouse gases, but the problem is in the litter, okay, especially the microplastics. So here is huge areas. Okay, now today we know that giving babies milk from plastic bottles is a problem because there's a leaching of the plastic that goes into babies. Okay, so this is no longer, a safe product. Okay, and we are having lots and lots of microplastics in our system. Okay. Okay, now comes the issue of recycling. We are all expected to recycle. Okay, plastic here, paper here, other waste here. In Australia, in my own house, Dr. Chris's house, we have 3 different bins. Okay, but I call it the big con. Plastics and chemical industry realized in 1970 that if governments made them responsible for bearing the cost of recycling, it would make their product uneconomical. Because now in the old days, as I told you, the Coca-Cola bottle, it was collected, there was a deposit of 10 cents, and it was washed and recycled. To make that happen for plastic was impossible. They realized that they can't ever recycle. Not the way that the old glass bottles were being done. So what did they do? Rather than pay for the collection and recycling, they put the responsibility on us, the consumer. They said, hey, you consumer, you got to recycle. You got to be good. Okay. They finance expensive advertising campaigns on how we must all be good citizens and recycle. So remember, many of you have seen this RRR, reduce, reuse, recycle. Okay. So they put up a logo. Remember this logo? That's done by the plastics industry. Okay. They put up this logo. In fact, they put up logos for different types of products, different types of recycling. Okay. So they did a lot of advertisement to make us become good citizens, even though they well knew that much of the plastic we recycle will end up either in landfill sites or be incinerated. The global percentage of actual plastic being recycled is only 10%. Now, in some countries, it's higher. In Norway, for example, it is about 80% recycled. In the US, it's about 40%. But when you take the global average, only 10%. Okay, and we have to look at the global average because much of this plastic floats all over the world. Okay, only 10%. So while we are dutifully putting things into different containers, actually only 10% gets recycled because the recycle logo says that you can recycle it in a lab situation, not commercially. It cannot be recycled commercially. That's something management accountants have to realize. So when we are doing our separation, we think, oh, all our things are going to be sorted out nicely, put into piles beautifully, and then recycled into more glass, plastic bottles, and so on. That is our perception. Efficient waste management is our perception. But the reality is completely different. Landfills, bacteria, children playing in huge areas, okay, full of bacteria and so on. That's the reality. Okay. So really, recycling is not the way to go. What we have to do is plastic free. So there is a company that in Australia that makes toilet paper. The paper itself is made out of bamboo, so no trees are used. Okay, and every part of this product has no plastic in it. Look at the beautiful wrapping and so on. It's all plastic free. Okay, so what we need is actually logos that tell us there is no plastic, not logos that tell us to recycle. Okay, unfortunately, the problem yet is that we don't have an easy logo yet that I've seen that makes the whole world understand that it is plastic free. Perhaps that one is the best one. Okay, where there's no writing in English or whatever. This is a good one. Okay, maybe that one. Okay, so how have we tackled the plastic problem up to now? Basically by burning the stuff. Uncontrolled incineration. I'm sure you've seen this in Thailand. I'm sure you've seen it in many countries around. I mean, I've seen it in my home country, Sri Lanka. Okay, they are just taking all the plastic and burning it. Not only is this causing climate change, but what comes out of it is extremely dangerous toxic fumes. So the country that has managed to do controlled incineration, not uncontrolled, is Singapore. Okay, they say, hey, we don't care much about this 3 R's. Okay, they say, forget about it. You can use as much of plastic as possible. But what we do is we are actually going to collect it all. So they have an extremely good system of waste management collection. Whatever rubbish they collect, okay, it is then collected and incinerated in a controlled way. Okay, Singapore's process of waste management involves burning the trash, filtering the smoke to remove harmful pollutants, and dumping the residue of ash responsibly. There's a little pellet that remains. Okay, that is put aside. I'll show you how they do it. The residue ash is made into slurry and dumped in the water within a man-made island. So they have actually entire islands that they are creating with putting this plastic slurries into it, and then finally growing trees and so on. Okay. Now, the additional benefit of the Singapore plant, okay, is that they actually power something like 200,000 homes with electricity from the burnt trash, and the harmful gases are filtered out so that the air emitted is from the incineration is very clean. Now, listen to this. This is very important. Okay. They tell us, Singaporeans tell us, oh, the around it, that they clean it so much, it is clean. But please know that cleaner does not mean greener. Okay. Let me explain that. Clean does not mean green, but often the two are confused. What we mean by clean air is that there's absence of pollutants in the air and water. So household combustion devices like motor vehicles, industrial facilities, and forest fires are common sources of air pollution. Okay, so these are these are the unclean gases, okay, cars and so on. So what comes out of these are particle matter, carbon monoxide, not carbon dioxide, which is a different problem, but carbon monoxide. Now, all of these gases is dangerous for our health. We can die. Okay, so all the diesel fumes and so on, we can die. Okay, so this is where when they say it is cleaner, they mean that there's no carbon monoxide, ozone and so on being pumped out. But it doesn't mean it is greener. Greener means there's no climate, the things like methane and carbon dioxide, what we call greenhouse gases. Okay. So, for example, cows can put out methane, okay, carbon dioxide. They don't kill us. They don't kill us. Okay. But what they do is they block the sunlight from going out. So when you have carbon dioxide and methane in the atmosphere, more and more of it, the sunlight comes in. Normally it should bounce out, but then they are trapped with the carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases that they bounce around the earth. So while these greenhouse gases don't kill us, they are still not good for the environment. That is why it's very important to understand that you can have clean air. That means there's no sulfur dioxide and all the bad stuff, but you can still have problems green because of climate change. Okay, so what excessive litter? What are the solutions? Getting the consumers to recycle for ethical reasons is not working out, as I told you. Only 10% is recycled. Therefore, governments, corporations, and scientific establishments need to turn to economic solutions. That's where we management accountants come in, economic solutions. The good news is that the world is awash with solutions for bottles. Lots and lots of solutions are coming up. Generally, they're first to fall into two categories. One is to reduce the quantity of new bottles produced. So stop producing new bottles as much as possible, okay, especially single-use containers. And the other is, even if you produce the bottle, how do we deal with the discarded bottle once they're thrown away? So these are the two categories, okay, that we look at. One is reduce the quantity and the other one is to deal with the discarded bottles. So let's look at the reduce the quantity of new bottles. One method is by recycling, obviously. I mean, the old days, the glass bottles are recycled. Here we can recycle them, okay. This requires bottles to be collected for recycling, achievable only by adding value to this activity. So we have to pay people to recycle. Now in Singapore, they have got fairly older people involved who are, okay, who are retired probably, to get involved in this whole waste management area. But in countries like India and so on, we can make it part of their family budget to collect these things and recycle. So you have to add value. This can be achieved only through charging an additional price for bottle recovery. Now, the plastic industry does not want to pay it, but someone has to pay it. If a company chooses to sell water in a single serving container, then the consumer should have to pay the full cost to deliver that water in that single serving container, and this includes recovering the container after use. So if you're going to use a bottle that you're going to throw away, someone has to price it so that the recovery is also captured. This is where management accounting and life cycle costing comes in. So in normal costing, we look at only the material, labor, and overhead that goes to producing a product. But in life cycle costing, we look at every cost that we incur in getting the raw materials and so on onto the production flow, and also what happens after you consume it. Okay, we look at all those in life cycle costing. Now, the second method is what is now becoming very fashionable, and that is to talk about a circular economy, where essentially we try to make every component of something be able to be recycled. Okay, reusable containers and so on. Okay? These containers would most often be a durable metal or glass vessel that can be refilled either at the store, by the manufacturer, or in your own home. So this is what we used to do in the old days with our bottles. Now they're going back to it and calling it a circular economy. There are studies calculating the payback periods associated with any usable item. Now remember that these are also not, you can't reuse it forever. Okay, for example, a cloth bottle, a cloth bag has to be washed. There's energy in the washing, all of that. So there's a lot of calculation that you can do as management accountants to look at these as alternatives to single use. Okay, that is why I said it's very important for us to do a whole of life or life cycle costing exercise. Okay, to look at this, especially when you take into account microplastics and littering and so on. Okay, so that is to reduce the quantity of bottle. What about the discarded bottles? Well, there are lots and lots of things that are happening these days. Okay, they're making printer cartridges, fence posts, roofing tiles, boats, even houses out of discarded plastic bottles. Okay, so they're quite innovative way of using the plastic. So that's first method. Second method is to pursue design and recycling solutions for faster decomposition of litter. Okay, so as I told you, there are two types of ways. One is called start of pipe. In the production process, before we make the container, do it so that we have good smart design and so on, that we think about the disposal aspect of it. This is start of pipe, start of the process. But after we make it and we discard it, there are end of pipe solutions, mainly chemical recycling, where you put it into chemicals and to dissolve it in a way. But the nice one that is coming up is a very interesting one, is plastic munching bacteria. They have actually found a bacteria species that loves plastic. Okay, they love plastic. So if you can scale it up into commercial quantity, they're doing a lot of research on it. That will be fantastic. Release they don't like anything else except plastic. So you release it into oceans, they will eat up the microplastics. And that's the promise. We don't know. Okay, so there are some interesting end of pipe solutions. But we can't wait for these solutions. We need immediate solutions now. It is really a catastrophic situation. Immediate solutions. I believe that the United Nations must ban single-use plastic. Now, 170 countries have already pledged to do it. I'm not sure if Thailand has done it as well, but I'm sure 170 countries, Thailand must have pledged to ban single-use plastic, or institutionalize waste management in all countries, like the Singapore solution. Try to get people to collect the rubbish. Now, if a country is too poor to pay for this, the United Nations must get involved in financing this. Every country needs to be provided with enough garbage trucks and other sophisticated waste management equipment to do this. Then instead of trash ending up on top of mountains or bottom of oceans, it can be collected in a regular basis, like what they do in Singapore, landfill, recycled, or burnt in a controlled way. This is an immediate requirement. Okay? The longer term solutions, ultimately, however, is the startup pipe solution, which is your smart design. Okay? Already we are seeing now in India, there's a company that makes knives and forks that after you finish the meal, you can actually eat the knife and fork. Okay, there are toothbrushes, and there are lots of innovative solutions. The issue is to scale it up. And the only way you can scale it up is if the government comes in and bans the use of it. Okay, the single-use plastic. Okay, that is essentially low-tech solution that takes design back to the future or pre-plastic days. So remember the movie Back to the Future? I think we had to go back to the future, go back to our glass bottles and so on. I talked to a young boy in Indonesia recently. He said, how can we go to glass bottles? I said, I grew up with glass bottles. Okay. The concept of that was not in him. So we have to somehow teach these people about the importance of going back to our solutions in the past. Such solutions hold the best hope of preventing the hidden green swan event from eventuating. Okay, now how can this be financed? These are not cheap. Okay, so basically, these where our accounting comes in. We can tax it. We can tax people who are basically either the consumer or the producer. Okay, we can tax them in some way, like a carbon tax. Okay, however, this will be probably as ineffective as carbon taxes were because the company will pay the tax and keep on producing the bottles. So it won't help the littering. So we could also tax production. That may be a little bit easier. Taxing consumption may not work. Taxing production is a better way, but the plastic industry is very, very strong, very powerful, lots of lobby groups, and they're going to resist this, taxing production. But they have done some calculations, and they said that if there's a worldwide tax of 2 cents for every kilo of plastic, okay, it can raise about $6 billion into a global fund. Just 2 cents for every kilo. $6 billion to a global fund, which can then be used to do the garbage collection and waste management systems. Okay, so I think we need some solutions like this. And of course, behind all problems, there's a finance solution, and that's where management accountants come in. Okay, so my concluding comments.
Okay. Evenถ้าผู้ฟังI will ask the question from
Dr. Suwatchai, I just finish and then we'll ask for comments, okay? Okay. So the Planet of Plastic, the voluntary effects used in 3R campaign and the recycling logo are not working. Only 10% is actually recycled. Therefore, we should go back to the future of the 1950s by banning all single-use consumption of plastic products. If such a drastic move is not politically feasible, the onus of recovery and recycling must be put on the plastic industry and not on the consumer's ethics. The pricing mechanism should include the recovery and recycling costs of the manufactured plastic. This is the only workable short-term solution to curb excessive plastic pollution until technology can be scaled up. So management accountants have the tools and techniques of calculating the lifetime costs and benefits of the various solutions presented to reduce plastic pollution. Okay, so that is my concluding comments. Dr. Suwatchai, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. ผู้ฟังทางบ้านถ้ามีคำถามนี่เขียนเข้ามาทางช่องแชทได้เลยนะครับแล้วผมได้สรุปแล้วก็ถามทางวิทยากร We wait for the question from the listener first. Okay. Before we move, I will summary in Thai. Just only 5 minutes.
Yes, please.
โอเคก็เท่าที่ดร. Janek ได้คุยให้ฟังก็สรุปว่า Green Swan เป็นปัจจัยที่เกิดจากความเสี่ยงที่มนุษย์กระทำขึ้นจากการที่เราทิ้งขยะลงไปสู่อากาศและน้ำโดยเฉพาะพลาสติกทำให้ทำลายระบบนิเวศทำลายสมดุลทางสภาพอากาศก็เลยมีโซลูชัน2-3อันซึ่งเราทางที่เป็นนักบัญชีบริหารหรือนักการเงินเนี่ยเราก็สามารถมีส่วนร่วมในการตัดสินใจในเรื่องของพลาสติกได้โดยการที่กลับไปดูในองค์กรหรือกลับไปถามตัวเราว่าตัวนี้เราใช้ถุงพลาสติกหรือเปล่านะครับใช้แล้วเราอาจจะต้องใช้ขวดพลาสติกแทนถุงพลาสติกเวลาเรากินน้ำปุ๊บเราก็ยังดื่มขวดพลาสติกได้แต่ว่าเรากลับไปใช้หลายๆรอบให้ขวดมันถูกใช้งานได้มากที่สุดถ้าที่มันจะใช้ได้ไม่ใช่ครั้งเดียวทิ้งครับเพื่อเป็นการลดปริมาณขวดพลาสติกลงครับโดยเฉพาะพลาสติกที่ใช้ครั้งเดียว In Thailand, I think we have the law to ban the single-use plastic bag already. If you want to use the single bag plastic, you have to pay money. ถ้าตอนนี้ทุกคนเป็นช้อปปิ้งสมมติว่าตามห้างสินค้าเราก็จะต้องมีการจ่ายเงิน We have to pay money for plastic bag. I think 2 baht for one plastic bag. Thai government has used the economic to ban the plastic bag. I think this one 2 or 3 years ago they work because the people they use the cloth bag more than plastic bag because they have to pay 2 baht for one plastic bag. Is like the people try to think about how to use plastic bag better. And I think the convenience store or supermarket try to use the durable plastic bag to complete one plastic bag that they try to stimulate people to use the bag again and again more. Okay. มีคำถามครับสำหรับคนที่ฟังอยู่นะครับถ้ามีคำถามช่วยส่งเข้ามานะพิมพ์ภาษาไทยก็ได้แล้วผมจะส่งคำถามทางผู้อีกทีครับ
I think Dr. Suwatchai, you're quite right. In Thailand, I found that there is a lot of innovation. In fact, I've stayed in 2-3 hotels. The hotel I'm staying now has only got these plastic glass bottles. They only use glass bottles. So all our water is supplied in glass bottles only. At least few hotels, even in Pattaya where I've stayed, they're using some glass bottles, which is excellent because that is one way of recycling them. They reuse them and we finish the water.
Because I audit one of the glass bottle company, they say that this public policy help them to boost the sale up, and they support the government to use the glass bottle.
Right.
I stayed in a hotel last week in Bali. They had glass, okay, but when you at the restaurant, it is all plastic spoons and so on. So they should do entire audit of the hotel, okay, and get hotels are a big problem, okay, where even the toothbrushes are plastic, everything. Yes, the glass bottles are there, but everything else is plastic, and we have to look at that one.
Okay. I think in Thai, most of the hotel they call sustainable environment hotel. They want the logo from the recognized organization, so that they use more the non-plastic kitchen or something. They use the dish that come from the ceramic or not the plastic bag. Okay. Okay. Do you have anything else to add before we move next?
Well, I was going to talk a little bit about the CMA program, but if there are any questions, I can answer now or I can answer later.
Okay. Can you explain more CMA program that the people more interesting on this one?
Yep.
Okay. So I'll talk about the CMA program?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I forgot to put this last slide. Thank you, and now please reduce your consumption of single-use plastic. Okay.
Very good.
Okay, so
the program 8-day, 7-day program in Thailand. Can you debrief to the audience? Because I already applied for your program already.
Okay, good, yes. So the CMA, Certified Management Accountants of Australia and New Zealand, as I told you, is about 25 years old. But the CMA qualification, which is now given by a couple of institutes around the world, including the IMA in America, the CMA in Canada, which of course has merged with CPA. And there are a couple of Indian, Bangladesh, and Pakistan CMAs, okay? But the big one that, of course, there are other qualifications that are like CMA, like the CMA qualification. I originally had the CMA qualification myself. So the CMA is different from all of those organizations because this is very specifically at the postgraduate level. The course is at postgraduate level. So you really need to have some sort of undergraduate qualification, a degree or ACCA or something before you join this program. It is meant for postgraduate. So it's a very recognized qualification, okay? And we have members in very, very senior positions all around the world. So the CMA, I mean, there are some even World Bank jobs that I have done that they wanted the CMA to be the one that looks at the various cost accounting and management accounting aspects. So it's a very important program. Now, I would say that all the people who are today listening to us are very senior people, and this is ideal for them. I mean, they know a lot and so on, but they need to go probably, okay, they themselves will realize that they would really want a further qualification. Now, we had the head of procurement of Mitsubishi Motors, Japanese, who came all the way to Indonesia, head of procurement, I mean, very, very senior position, to take the CMA program. And he said that we are all learning, even though we are very senior, we are all learning, okay? And he enjoyed that program. So we have 10,000 CMAs. We have about 20,000 members with lower grades, but we have 10,000 CMAs. About 72% of them are working in some of the top global brands. Okay. Now, how do you become a CMA of Australia? There are many pathways. So we have a pathway for people after they leave school. Okay. And then they do a lot of subjects that is not even shown here. Okay. They can do subjects, but mainly we have two pathways for graduates. Those who have an accounting degree, non-accounting degree, anything but accounting or finance, okay, they have to do 4 conversion subjects, okay, financial modeling and so on, and then they do the 2 CMA subjects. If you are an accounting graduate, then you go straight into do the CMA. If you have 3 to 5 years experience, you can first get your associate membership. But if you have more than 5 or more experience, you can get your CMA. Now, where does TFAC come in? TFAC members can go straight into doing the 2 CMA subjects because they are like the ACCA and so on. They are already qualified. In fact, TFAC's own CMA qualification would be perfect for them to come and do our qualification as well. Okay, it's a value addition. It's not something that you learn again, and we can learn from those people as well. So the program that we are running is a 7-day intensive program, face-to-face. Okay, the first subject's 3 days, Saturday, Sunday, and a Monday. Okay, on strategic cost management, and the other one is, I think it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, something like that. So you're away from work only for 3 days out of the 7-day program. Okay. So that is and I hope that many of you will be interested in joining. I'm telling you, it's going to be an eye-opener for y'all and for us as well to have y'all in our class, because we like to have very senior people to interact, okay, with us as well. And we also learn. I mean, we learned a lot from that Mitsubishi person who came and joined our class as well.
Some very senior people have already joined the program, and I'm very happy to announce, if I can, with your permission, Dr. Suwatchai, that today, just now, as I was talking, I saw on my screen that you have registered yourself also, and it is a great honor to have a very senior person like yourself at the program. And there are many others, very senior CFO level and director level people, today who have registered. So I'm really grateful that all of you are taking a great interest. So it will be a great opportunity for the others also to network with you. It's a good opportunity, I think.
Okay, can I ask some questions, because asked for participant. I think in the program it look like the lecture, or it's like the participation, two-way communication, or the lecture style.
Yeah, so we have, it is mainly two-way communication. It's not a lecture and then we ask questions in the lecture. Okay, it's very different from a university lecture where you give the lecture and then you have the tutorial. It's a two-way communication all the time.
Okay. And I think some topics, do you have any the toolkits in the learning or not? For example, ABC, allocation system. Do you have any software, or do you have any Excel or used in the learning? In day 2, you have the ABC.
Yeah, okay. So let me go through I will come to the program in a minute, but basically the entry criteria, as I told you, is a degree in accounting or finance, MBA, TFAC membership, full membership for ACCA CMA, and any degree. Okay, some people are very senior finance people. They may have a degree not in finance, but if they are very senior, okay, we will take them into the program. Okay. Yeah. So the experience, 5 years or more for CMAs, 3 years for associate management accountants, but really this program is mainly geared for the CMAs. Okay. Now let's look at the program itself. Okay, so the first unit, you will see that these are actually very applied lectures. They are all based on very practical, applied. Lots of cases are within the things, lots of examples. So it's very different to an academic lecture. You will find a lot of communication. People who are giving the lectures have a lot of experience in actual practice, not theory, in actual applied practice. Okay, so your question about activity-based costing is there.
Yeah,
now, of course, most people would have done basic activity-based costing, but we go much, much further than that. We actually look at things such as granular costing, what is this, time-driven ABC, research consumption accounting, all with practical examples. Okay, so it's a very, very in-depth study of activity-based costing, much more than you get in even a textbook. And then you have another on customer profitability, which is the extension, and then also on your own white-collar departments, which is activity-based management. Now, the interesting one with this one here is implementation. Now, you won't get this in any textbook, but the problem that comes when you're actually trying to implement an ABC system. Okay, now myself and others have gone through, I have done myself about 70 ABC implementations, and what I have learned from those big and small companies is also part of that lecture. Okay, so you see it's a very, very practical one. Okay, so this is, and then we spend a lot of time these days on environment, sustainability, and all of that. Okay, so it's a very integrated program. Okay, because this not only is integrated within the thing, but then it leads on to the next one. Okay, and really you have to look at both in total to see how well it fits in. Okay, because something you learn in the first one, you apply the second one, and so on. So this is, of course, the strategy subject. Okay, where we have marketing, financial analysis, product portfolio, international dimensions of marketing. Okay, you'll find lots on this on human resource management, integrated marketing. Okay, and then we go on to supply chain. Okay, financial structures, your debt and equity structures is covered. And then we value a company. Now, in this particular topic, people are given actual model that they can use to value companies. Models that are used often in big firms like, KPMG and Deloitte and so on to value. They will be getting those models here, and they will be able to value companies. Okay. Management. Okay. Again, another model on risk management is given. So you can see that there's a lot of practical things that are given in the program that I'm sure it will be useful. So you can look at some of the testimonials that we have got from very senior people who enjoyed the integrated aspects, the applied aspects of the program. Okay, so that is your second unit. So these are the 2 units. Any questions on any particular one here?
Any question? โอเคผู้ฟังทางบ้านถ้ามีคำถามรีบส่งมานะครับจะได้รวบรวมคำถามถาม Now we wait for the question from the listener first.
Okay.
Can I ask more for the program in the module 2 that you mentioned on the day 7 about the scorecard? Do you have any example scorecard that the participant can use to apply for that company or not?
Yeah. So, I mean, we have many scorecards. We have the balance scorecard examples over here. There are a lot of case studies in the course that cover it. So, in the first course, okay, under performance management systems, we start looking at the balance scorecard there. But then we go on to look at far more scorecards here that look at environmental scorecards, all different things over here. So, it's integrated. And there are many scorecards that we look at. Yes. Okay. In fact, we look at 80 different non-financial indicators that you can choose from to do whatever scorecard you want for whatever industry. We give some of the metrics there. Okay.
Very interesting topics to be
Yeah.
in the CMA program.
Because it's actually fully integrated. It's much more than a mini MBA. It's an MBA plus, because you get everything in MBA plus the numbers. Even when you do human resource management, we actually show how the numbers come in to your interviews with people. We have simulation games. We have role playing. All of that is in this course. Okay.
Do you have any topic discuss about the digital marketing? Digital marketing. Do you have any topic discuss?
Yeah. So under this one here, full strategy, integrated marketing communication, we spend a lot of time on digital marketing, digital metrics, how to look at evaluating the digital things. So we spend a lot of time in this. Full strategy is advertising, really. So these all on digital advertising we look at over there.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
In fact, CMA does most of our marketing is done on the digital world using LinkedIn and other device on Facebook, LinkedIn, and this sort of thing. So we are very much of a digital organization ourselves. Most of our program with the COVID, it has become even more so with all our programs now. Some of them on Zoom. Of course, we prefer face-to-face programs. That's the best diamond standard. But if wherever not possible, we also do Zoom programs twice a year. So that's a big. And our hope is that we'll be able to run this program later in the future, maybe in Thai language also. Sorry, Dr. Suwatchai.
Okay. My question that after we finish the program, any annual fee that we have to pay to CMA or not? I asked as a participant.
Yeah. So basically, after the program, you have to pay up $220 a year as an annual fee. Per year. So for the first year, since the program is in October, we will collect $330 to up to 2025 June. So till 1.5 years, we'll combine that together and we collect 1.5 years fee and we give the membership automatically at that stage.
The other thing is to understand that once you do the program, if you are having experience of more than 20 years, then there are no further assessments. You get the CMA after you complete, because there are a lot of assessments in the case study discussions and so on in the course. If you have between 10 and 20 years, you have to do one assignment based on your company. It's not a random assignment. You have to base it on how you can apply what you've learned in your company. And if you have less than 10 years experience, you have to do 2 assignments, one for each of the subjects. So they are very much assignment based. In the past, we had exams for those with under 10 years experience. But after COVID and we couldn't do exams, we converted to assignments. And we found that the assignments are much better because they are directed to their own company. And therefore, they are, some of them said we submitted our assignment to our company and they gave us a promotion because of what we had discussed in the assignment. So we are now going on to that way, assignment-based assessment.
Okay, very good.
So basically, as I told you, we cover all of these areas in our CMA course. Okay, highly integrated, and they're accredited and assessed at the master's degree level. Okay, so take a screenshot or whatever okay, to begin the
Actually,
journey.
I think in the chat they have already put the details of this link and other places that
Okay,
you can find
okay,
the
right.
information. So they can take a screenshot, but and I'm to Dr. June and Dr. Suwatchai and many others from TFAC who have already helped us a lot. And we have got decent number of registrations already, and I'm sure this will be a success now because Dr. Suwatchai himself has joined, and some very senior people have joined us already, which is really good for the program.
Yes, so Dr. Chris is on WhatsApp, but I think Dr. June has a different thing. In Thailand, there's something else, that is used.
Line. I'm also online. Yeah, both of us.
Online, is it? Okay.
Yeah. We use Line, and I also use Line. And in the brochure, my Line contact is given there. So people are contacting me regularly on Line. That's okay. WhatsApp or Line, but mostly online. They are contacting here online. Yeah.
ก็สำหรับผู้ฟังทางบ้านนะครับถ้าสนใจหลักสูตรนี้ซึ่งผมคิดว่าผมสองที่คนให้คนลองเข้าไปเรียนนะก็คือจะใช้เวลา7 วันนะครับที่จะต้องเจอเป็นออนไซต์เป็นface to face สัมมนานะครับไม่ได้เป็นออนไลน์เป็นออนไซต์ที่โรงแรมปทุมวันปรินเซสนะครับใช้เวลาทั้งหมด7 วันครับก็สามารถติดต่อไปที่ของสภาก็มีทางคุณดร.จุฬารัตน์นะครับที่อยู่ในอีเมลแล้วก็หรือติดต่อตรงไปที่ตัวคุณคริสก็ได้นะครับที่มีอีเมลอยู่นะครับรีบติดต่อนะเพราะว่าสมัครก่อนวันที่30 สิงหาคมจะมี Early Bird Discount ประมาณ500 เหรียญครับผมแล้วก็ช่วงท้ายก่อนจะจบตรงนี้ผมขออนุญาตฝากหลักสูตรของสภาคือหลักสูตร CMA นะครับซึ่งตอนนี้สภาก็มีหลักสูตรจำลองเดียวกันนี้พยายามสร้างขึ้นมาเพื่อให้มั่นใจว่าถ้า Certified Management Accountant ก็จะเป็นอีกหลักสูตรหนึ่งที่จะมีความสำคัญในอนาคตครับผมเป็นการผสมผสานระหว่างบัญชีบริหารกับการเงินกับการบัญชีเข้าด้วยกันครับอันนี้มีคำถามไหมครับก่อนที่เราจะจบลงในวันนี้ครับ I think for both Dr. Chris and Dr. Janek for our cooperation between TFAC and CMA we have the TCMA program Thai Certified Management Accountant on during the process to grooming the people in the management accountant and selling finance to be the potential of the CFO in the future and we may have the more communication to work together between the TFAC and CMA. Okay, thank you so much. Any question from the floor? มีครับโอเคถ้าทางบ้านมีคำถามผมจะจบการคุยกันในวันนี้กันครับ If no question, so thank you for Dr.
Thank you.
Dr. Janek
Yeah.
and see you in Bangkok on October. Okay.
Thank you.
ขอบ
Thank
คุณ
you.
มากทุกท่านครับผมขอบคุณมากครับทุกท่านขอบคุณมากครับ
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I will keep my
สภาวิชาชีพบัญชีในพระบรมราชูปถัมภ์ขอเชิญสมาชิกสามัญที่เป็นสมาชิกติดต่อกันไม่น้อยกว่า 6 เดือนนับถึงวันเลือกตั้งร่วมเลือกนายกกรรมการและประธานคณะกรรมการวิชาชีพแต่ละด้านของสภาวิชาชีพบัญชีในวันเสาร์ที่19 สิงหาคม 2566 เวลา 9 นาฬิกาประชุมวิสามัญสมาชิกเวลา 10 นาฬิกาถึง 15 นาฬิกาลงคะแนนเสียงเลือกตั้งเวลา 15 นาฬิกาปิดหีบลงคะแนนณห้องบอลรูม 1-3 ศูนย์การประชุมแห่งชาติสิริกิติ์ร่วมกันใช้สิทธิ์สุจริตโปร่งใสและมีจรรยาบรรณมาร่วมพลังเลือกคนเก่งเข้ามาทำงานเลือกคนชำนาญเข้ามาทำหน้าที่สามารถติดตามข้อมูลข่าวสารการเลือกตั้งของสภาวิชาชีพบัญชีได้ที่ www.tfac.or.th อย่าลืมไปใช้สิทธิ์กันเยอะๆนะครับ